Hey guys, we're the dudes that run WeebWarfare. You may have seen us at conventions here and there. You've probably seen us on Instagram. Our newest conquest, obviously, is TikTok and YouTube. So we're starting our long form content here. And I'm Spider Jack, obviously, wearing the Spider-Man hoodie. You're gonna see me probably in conventions, or you have seen me in conventions, running around like a headless chicken. As you can tell, I really love Spider-Man. I'm not entirely versed in Spider-Man lore, but I plan to get there one day.
Love Spider-Man.
And then over here we have our resident Gundam lorist, RX Kamina. Introduce yourself.
Well, those who know me know me. I'm one of the heads of Anime WeebWarfare, or WeebWarfare in general. We pretty much have one mission, and that is to have as much fun and cons as we possibly can. And we ask you guys to join us for those events.
Yeah, guys, come check us out.
To him again. Alright, Jeff, what you got in us for us?
Alrighty, Kamina. So we're going to start doing a segment called manga recaps, where we'll grab a chapter a week or 2 chapters a week, depending on how we do it, and we'll end up covering kind of like for those that don't actively want to be able to go and grab a book and read it themselves, or won't have the opportunity to do so. For you guys that are like driving to work, or like on your off time, and just kind of want to be caught up with certain mangas that we may find interesting, we'll give you a quick synopsis of a chapter here and there. So this one is called... Which one is this one that we're doing coming up?
It's believe it's called... Itsumo Jikutsu.
Itsudemo Jikutsu. Alright, cool. So I have the thumbnail popped up here for the first volume.
You'll probably put the link to the first chapter on the actual description.
Yeah, we'll put the link over here on manga here, so you guys will be able to continue reading it if you want to read it on your own. If not, we'll keep covering it here. And go ahead, Kamina, take it away.
So the manga starts chapter 1, where you're possible everyday isekai, but it's not exactly that. A young man is selling in a booth with a young girl.
Okay.
And they sell out of whatever product they were selling. It cuts then back down to him in the original world. Hold on. Where he is seen working odd jobs. He seems to be renovating a old house, which turns out to be his grandma's house, where he has fond memories of being with her, seeing as she was very much his only family member.
Right.
He then finds a ring his grandma left him, a ring that has apparently the ability to transfer him to a new world. And once he gets there, he realizes that he wants to actually stay and live there and, have fun adventures. So he decides to become an interworld merchant, pretty much.
That sounds interesting. It's like, hey, I don't like my world enough, but your world doesn't have the commodities that my world has, so I'm just going to bring them over and make money.
Yes. Along with a young girl, I believe her name is... Okay. Sorry about that, guys. So, Shiru, along with this young new girl, pretty much end up creating small stalls around the city to sell products that he finds at home. He starts with matches and other stuff. The manga chapter pretty much ends after he discovers that the young girl is having problems at home and that the city is also in need of help. Whether or not will he start a new market and help out all the new adventurers coming to the city? Will he help the girl, or would he just go back home? Who knows? We'll see next chapter.
It sounds interesting to me. I don't know about you, but it sounds like the idea of going to Japan to get hit by Truck-kun because you don't like your world, but then realizing that no matter how amazing this new world is, you realize that the comforts you have back home are not here. So you're like, screw it. let's modernize this new world and let's conquer it.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting. I like it. We'll continue with the next chapter next week. I'm interested now. All right, so on to our next segment. I like to call this segment I explained that anime badly. And the funnier it is, the more points it gets.
Okay.
So we'll start out with Devil's Line. Explain the plot of that show badly to me, sir.
Okay, if Twilight and Tokyo Ghoul had a baby.
What?
Yes.
That sounds...
It's the dramatism of Twilight trying to write for teenage girls met with the angsty teenage hypocrisy that is Tokyo Ghoul, you would have Devil's Line.
That sounds funny, but like in a terrible way.
It is. It's when two terrible shows fused together, they just create terrible anime.
All right. So
I just call Tokyo Ghoul shit.
Tokyo Ghoul fans, please don't hate us. You know, we mean no ill will towards you. We're just making jokes. Moving on to the next one. Let's do Initial D. Eurobeat intensifies. Explain that badly for us.
Guy pretty much participates in illegal activity at night, all to smash some girls.
I love it. The guy goes, "Oh, you want to challenge me here on this deathly mountain that cough cough achoo. I tend to call this my backyard because I have nothing better to do. But you don't know that. All right, let's do it."
No.
Alright, that one was funny, but not as funny as Devil's Line. So right now, Devil's Line's first, this is second. Alright, so we're going to step it up a notch. Maybe this will be funnier. And we'll step for a moment into your world, sir. And we'll cover the special for Char's Counterattack from Gundam.
Okay, Char's Counterattack. Alright. Blonde pedophile decides to destroy the world instead of going to therapy.
What?
Blonde pedophile decides to destroy the world instead of going to therapy after his girlfriend's death.
Instead of going to therapy. He's like, it's not worth it for me just to die. I have to take the world with me.
He's the epitome of the emo protagonist in all faces and forms.
So is this considered suicide, genocide, all the above?
This is, instead of suicide by cop, it's suicide by military.
Suicide by military. So, for those that don't know, spoilers, does he succeed in suicide by military?
We don't know.
I'll give you this. This one is not the funniest one. We'll give it to Devil's Line because of the whole Tokyo Ghoul and Twilight was really funny. But Char's Counterattack will be a close second.
Okay.
And then, and Eurobeat Intensifies will definitely claim third place there. Alright, so moving on. I want to, it's been a long time coming. So since you're very well versed in the industry in Japan and anime and manga and stuff, you gotta explain to me what happened with Promised Neverland. And by that I mean the manga was really well received. Actually, it was well beloved. The pacing was extremely well. It lasted enough chapters where you kind of wrapped everything up. Obviously, we're not going to talk about the ending. The ending of the manga was extremely rushed, and they felt like they tried to tie everything up at the last second. They could have paced it out a little bit more at the ending. But besides that, the anime only lasted 2 seasons. I didn't watch them because I felt disappointed. I was told season 1 was pretty faithful to the first arc of the manga. But after that, season 2 decided to cut a lot of arcs and try to get to the ending as quickly as possible, which they pulled what the manga did at the ending and tried to wrap everything up quickly. But they cut up a lot of important characters and a lot of fluff. So explain to me what happened there. Why did they decide to rush 2 seasons instead of making 3 to 4, and they could have made bank on that?
So that's the thing, though. We have a wrong concept of the anime industry. At least some people in America do.
I'm just saying, if you want to take off the mask now, you can.
No, I like it now. It stays with me.
All right, go ahead.
Really, I'm just trying to fit it comfortably, so I'm trying to figure out where all the points are that
That's
actually poke me, which is a lot. This thing is not comfortable for the least. This is what you wear when you have only one goal in life: be the Gunpla.
That's fine. We're testing out all the kinks first before we decided whether we want to take this out into the market or just keep it for ourselves.
Also, shout out to Jeff because this shirt has lasted quite a bit, even though it's been
shout out to me, Spider Jack.
Yeah,
our somewhat makeshift staff shirts with our names and logos on them. But
to be fair, I did tell my mom not to wash this shit with the way that you wash just normal clothes.
Right.
But she took it as okay, wash it with normal clothes. Normally.
As long as you hang dry it for the first couple of dries, it should have longevity.
It did not. It did not happen. I'm telling you right now. The first thing my mom did was dryer, let's go. But I am surprised that even with that, it's actually lasting pretty well.
Well, that's good. Anyways, continue. You were saying that there's a misconception.
Okay. There's a misconception in the industry of how the anime industry is and everything, where we tend to think that they look for success with the anime, which is not necessarily true at all times with all the animes. Sometimes it's just as simple as the anime is treated as an advertisement for the manga. And a lot of times...
I'm going to pause you for a moment, sorry, but I don't think that was the case here. Because the anime came out near the ending of the manga's run. If I'm mistaken, I think the manga had just finished as the anime came out.
As it does with a lot of anime. But that's the point. They're trying to sell the manga. Okay, so here's the part that we're kind of missing here, right? Just like in America, for example, Naruto, right? So we knew the end of the original Naruto almost a year before the manga stopped selling here, right?
Right.
You can say kind of the same thing for manga in Japan. The manga chapters came out in Shonen Jump, where here we looked at it online and we watched manga online. A lot of the mangas out in Japan actually get serializations in different manga magazines.
Right.
So they go by
chapter. The most popular one that we in the West know.
So what you would think as Volume 1, which contains the first 6 or 7 chapters of a manga, doesn't come out until months later. Then the first couple of chapters comes out. So by the time you get 10 chapters, the first volume just came out containing the first 5 chapters.
Right.
By that logic, the anime finished, but the manga didn't finish. Not the manga itself, but the volumes released.
Right.
So yes, it is still advertising for the manga because you're advertising the manga volumes coming out. So even though the manga came out, there's still product being sold.
Right. My issue here with this is that if an anime ends up being too short and too choppy, and people tend to be like, this is a lot of nonsense. You're not giving me enough of what I need. What in people's mind is gonna click and say maybe the manga will have what I want? If people don't like the anime, what are the chances they'll move over to the manga? That to me, that just feels like there's a separation there.
I know what you mean, and unfortunately, it's kind of one of those things where it just seems to be that we just look at things differently than the Japanese audience. They tend to follow a rule, at least when it comes to manga, where it's for some stuff, at least, not all the stuff. It seems that we have a separation where a lot more stuff now is coming out, and it's being a little bit more faithful to the anime story and everything, which, to be fair, was a big surprise with how you call it? The one that we're talking about right now?
Promised Neverland?
Promised Neverland, out of everything that has been coming out lately, was a big shocker in the sense that it just decided to go complete left field, which we haven't seen since the 2000s, maybe 2008s, when it comes to other manga adaptations. Another tremendously big disappointment being, of course, oh God, I cannot remember names today.
That's fine.
But my point is that it's happened to a lot of mangas. It happens a lot to mangas that have light novels, unfortunately. Mostly because the light novels end up finishing completely different than both the anime and the manga a lot of time. sometimes it's just not feasible to continue. For
Right.
example, Familiar Zero, you know?
Oh, that was
So-
really good actually.
Huh?
Familiar Zero was actually really good.
It was, but we never got the ending.
Yeah, I got kind of sad. I remember watching Zero no Tsukaima when I was in college actually, and it was godlike.
But
we never got to see how
that,
it ended.
that's the thing, right? Like, it's just because the series is good does not guarantee it, you know, being successful. At least not in this way, because a lot of producers and people who actually work in this industry kind of have a look at it as, has it done enough money for us? If it has, then cut it off. It doesn't matter. Think about
That's
what happened
kind of
with
what you've
Weebs.
explained with. Sorry for interrupting you, but that sounds a lot like what you just said earlier, a few days ago, about the Yu-Gi-Oh mentality, where the anime is there to kind of promote toys and the product, and if it doesn't promote enough or do well enough to promote, then they cancel it. Or if they think they've milked it enough, they'll just move on to the next product line and then in turn release the next show.
Yeah. Here in America, we have this like mentality for a lot of corporations where if the product is doing okay enough, we're willing to put the extra effort to try to bring it down from its status and actually bring it to something good and, you know,
Right,
be
of
something
course.
viable. At least most of the time. But in Japan, they seem to take a status that if it's not doing correct in a set amount of time, the whole thing is dropped.
I know
Just-
that. I don't know. To me, that just feels like we're polar opposites in that sense. Like going back to the whole thing about animes and mangas, right? In no one's rightful mind in the Western Hemisphere would they look at an anime and say, this first season was garbage. I'm going to go look at the manga. People in the West have this mentality of the first season of the anime was garbage. I'm gonna take that as the manga was garbage. Therefore, I'm not gonna continue. Where people in the West, people in the East, China, Japan, manhwas, Koreans, all these people have the understanding of if it's getting an anime, it's because it's worth it. And then they're like, we're going to release it, and we may not do it justice because we want people to look at our written form content instead of the anime. The anime is just a gateway. So even if we don't fully do what you want out of it, you at least now know it exists and you check out the content.
You gotta understand another thing is that we're in a completely different context of how we view this media because you and I might be really into anime, but it's not exactly like we can go down the street and 7-Eleven is gonna have all the current manga, right?
For now. Down the line, not crossing any fingers or dotting any I's, but down the line, manga cafe, that might be a thing. But for now, we don't live in that world.
Well, that's the thing. Even saying that we open up our own business and everything, like that's not really my point. My point is that there is just so much places in Japan to have access to the media that it becomes a part of culture. It becomes a part of everyday life for even the quote-unquote non-otakus.
Oh, that's right. Like with the Olympics that were hosted in Japan a few years ago, the sponsor of the Olympics, they always have to have like some sort of like thing that represents the Olympics for that nation. For Japan, it was Naruto. Like straight up, they literally did like a 3D model of Naruto and they projected it onto the Olympic stage, and you had Naruto there. Even if people don't know what Naruto was, the anime is so deep rooted into the culture that it made it into the Olympics, an international event.
Yeah. So the reason why that makes a great difference is because then you also have to change the way you advertise to people. There's most of the animes that come out in Japan already have a following. And I know some people say the same thing about manga coming out here because we do get manga now. We do get it kind of like around the same time.
Yeah,
Almost.
like Yen Press and some of the other
Yeah.
companies are actually publishing them here, yes.
Yeah, well, that and also pretty much, websites.
That too. But if you can support your local stores, let them know because that means that we'll get more content down the line.
Yeah. So the idea here is that we get it around the same time. But the thing is that there just doesn't seem to be as much following for stuff as there is in Japan. Fans already exist for a lot of the products that are being released. So the idea is not necessarily, hey, we're going to introduce someone new to it. It's mostly just keep preluding to the item actually being sold.
Right.
And that's what animes do for them to a certain degree. Sometimes animes do become a product worthwhile exploring. For example, the recent Overlord series, where they have simplified a lot of the light novels to the point that it's much more easier to follow the show than it is to read light novels. God knows I tried.
Oh, God.
That being said, there is a lot of missing content. Whether you think it's necessary to the series or not, I'll leave it up to you guys to read light novels. The manga seems to also kind of do things their own pace and their own way, so definitely worth a read, although I would say that I much prefer the anime. I don't know why, I just like how everything's put out.
Yeah, I really like the animation style for the anime, and the Japanese voice casting is chef's kiss.
I will say that Papa Ainz is an amazing English voice actor cast. And some of the cast in the show in English is actually pretty good as well. I will say that of course, that doesn't translate to every series lately.
No.
Spy Family.
No, it really doesn't. To be fair though, Spy Family, the voice of Anya in Japanese is so adorable because it really encompasses what a little girl would speak like. They'll say please, like in a cutesy way. She'll be like, please, and other stuff like that.
Yeah. It's really not like the English voice actress Anya's fault. It's just that Anya in the anime is so much cuter, and it just works out so much better. Also, like Lloyd Floyd, I like him both in both series. I just prefer him in the Japanese one. I think his monotone voice sometimes works well for the comedy. Yours the same to me in both series.
I will say this one thing though. After watching enough anime in Japanese, obviously the same thing applies to English. Whenever I hear Johnny Young Bosch in anything, I immediately freak out because I'm like, oh my god, it's Ichigo. Oh my god, it's the Power Rangers. You know, I freak out because of the voice actors, and I get that from the English cast. But I do the same for the Japanese cast. I finished recently season 2 for a Restaurant to Another World, and one of the protagonists in that show is actually the voice actor of the Japanese version of Jiraiya Sensei, and he sounds exactly like Jiraiya Sensei from Naruto. And when I hear him speak, all I'm thinking about is Pervy Sage the whole time, enjoying delicious food.
I'm watching Uruwaru Mask of Falls, and I just realized that Ororo's voice is basically Jiraiya and stuff like that. But here's the kicker. I'm watching it dubbed now. And I told you that I was watching it sub, and literally overnight I had to go dub for one fucking character.
Why?
Because whoever voices Misaki in that series, it's so fucking annoying that the only way to watch it for me was to switch to dub.
Oh god.
And in dub, I was pleasantly surprised by a lot of older voice actors that are reprising their role in this series from the other characters. So I was like, the voice of the main girl, it's okay. It's good. It's not bad. But I like the Japanese voice better, to be fair. And the main character voice, you know what? I'm not going to say that he's better or not, but comedy worked a lot better in English. I will say that with him.
Right. So anyways, we were saying before where you know, Japanese anime media and all that stuff is so deep rooted into its society that now we want to talk about movies, right? In Japan, anime movies, not just Studio Ghibli movies, but anime movies in general will be in the box office for as long as a regular movie is in the West. If a movie is in the West for a month, in Japan, an anime will be there for a month. Whereas for us, we'll get it for like a day, maybe 2. If we're lucky, we'll get it a week from like 11 Arts or something. Which now leads on to the other thing. You were telling me earlier about this anime, about this movie that was out in Japan.
Yes, I was talking about, let me pull the article over here.
Yeah, you're talking about this anime movie in Japan. And
so, I think the movie's out here too, if you guys want to watch it. It's been out for a while now. But it's...
What's it called?
Hold on. It's...
Okay.
For some reason, all the way in the top, and I should really have gone there beforehand. Oh God. Okay. Fruit Basket. Prelude. It's a prequel movie to to some of the characters in Fruit Basket and their love story. From what I understand, it there's a little bit of mistreatment of a spouse in that series in
Right.
general. So this movie kind of is a little bit uncomfortable for some people. But really, it's just the fact that it did the one thing that certain anime movies do very wrong in theaters, and that is that they try to explain, not show. The
No,
movie,
no. Cute visuals while explaining are the best way of doing it instead of just telling you about it because you either get extremely bored because you're just reading it or you have to visualize it yourself. And then when you finally see it, it's not what you envisioned, and then you don't end up liking it.
well, the thing is that the visuals were amazing, but the problem is visuals can only get you so far, especially when all you do is exposition.
Right, right.
The movie,
You gotta have a nice balance of both.
yeah, if you overexpose, you just end up making the whole thing boring to everybody. It doesn't
Right.
matter how pretty your animation is. But that being said, again, so pretty much the movie wasn't doing too hot necessarily, or at least leaving some people uncomfortable here.
Right,
But
which hold on, which says a lot about like we said before, that content being so deep rooted in its culture that even though it doesn't do that well, they'll still keep releasing more and more of it.
yeah,
Whereas here it didn't do that well. All right, we're done. Maybe we'll bring one out next year and we'll test the waters again. But for now, we're done.
now it is one of the last pieces of media that we were gonna get for Fruit Basket for a while, or if ever again.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it's kind of sad to see that it went this way with movies. But another movie that is suffering quite bad, especially in Japanese theaters, which is shocking, I guess, to them.
Right.
Is the new the new Full Metal Alchemist movie, the real life one. Is
Oh,
actually
live action, not Netflix adaptation, an actual real life one.
no. You like I said before to you, the Netflix ones are just the real life ones
Okay.
that bought the rights from Japan to bring it.
Okay.
The
Okay.
thing is, like, there's literally when the 11 Arts pretty much even says no to bring your movie here, you know it's
You know
gonna
it's
be
bad. Yeah.
you know it's gonna be a Netflix special.
Yep.
Anyway, so of course Netflix has admitted that they bought the rights for all three movies when they come out, so that means that they have the rights to this movie. So prepare to watch another Snoo Fest
Oh God.
in Netflix soon. Well, the movie has been released in Japan, and Dragon Ball Z is fantastically kicking its ass.
Oh
Although,
yeah, Dragon Ball Super, where supposedly Gohan and Piccolo are in the limelight for a fraction of a second, and then it's back to Goku and Vegeta.
to be fair though, there was kind of a bit of like not real hype for this movie because it did seem like more of like just pandering to like, oh look, Gohan's gonna be special for a while.
And then
But
and realistically, from what I understood in the manga, he's only special for like an arc or two, and then that's it.
but like the thing here is more of the fact that supposedly the first movie did well for Full Alchemist, which you can say the same about all first movies, right? Like all first movies have a chance to pull in a lot of audience. It doesn't mean you're gonna keep it for the sequel.
Right.
And Fullmetal Alchemist is just bombing it hard right now, while Dragon Ball Super is being solid weak for 2 weeks now.
Wow.
It means they had
So if the
four-
movie's out in Japan, when do you think we'll get a Western release for the Dragon Ball Super movie?
Considering, well, the Dragon Ball Super movie, we might actually see an 11 art, or we might see a Funimation movie release. Maybe I would say it could be anywhere as early as July, like end of July. That we might see kind of release, or at least a release announcement. Worst, I would say December.
Ouch. But I see it. Usually anime movies come out at the beginning of the year or ending of the year.
Yeah. So it just kind of goes to show, it's like, I hate that people say like, oh, the American version of it is garbage, like for the
right.
Death Note movie, right? For
Right.
Netflix Death Note movie. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It doesn't matter whether it's American or Japanese. It can still be hot garbage. It's just some
I'll
things
agree, I'll
just
agree.
translate well. to being in like live media. Some animes just don't translate well.
Right.
There's a lot of romance animes that do pretty fucking amazing as a real life media. You know, because you're not changing anything. You're just making.
No. For some reason, that just gives me vibes of Korean dramas when you say live action adaptations of romance animes. And Korean dramas are extremely popular, so that is a thing.
Ah, yes. But this is the year of romance, remember? So we had nothing but non-stop romance animes.
Oh, yeah, we got Kaguya-sama Love is War, got its supposed final
Kaguya-sama,
season.
we
got a bunch of other ones that are really popular. We got this year. So, yeah, it is the year of romance.
Apparently, they downvoted the fuck out of it to, like, you know, make it go down underneath Fullmetal Alchemist, and it just went back up.
It's just that good.
A troll wall, or just things just turned out the way it was?
It's just that good. Anyways, let's wrap this up real quick, and then I'm pretty sure you're ecstatic to share some Gundam news with us. I'm sure you have something in your pocket for this. So, as a quick farewell, give us some Gundam news.
Gundam news specifically.
Yeah, because you've been on the Gundam hype train for a while, especially since you just finished the beta for the Gundam game and stuff.
So, all right, on the Gundam news, I don't have too much because we didn't have all updates. We're actually still waiting for the release date for the first episode of the prologue of The Witch from Mercury.
I'm excited to see that, by the way. I know nothing of it, but I'm excited to see it anyways.
We do have details from the show, thanks to a lot of information that came out online in the last couple of days. It seems that it will entail the story of a couple students who live in this school that has kind of like training kind of classes for them to pilot these mobile suits. All the students seem to be from very important groups of military associations and companies. And the young girl seems to be the exception. And she has like this very weird connection with the infrastructure of the military there, which we also don't know yet. We do know, of course, that she will be piloting the main Gundam, along with two of her friends that will be piloting similar Gundam-type mobile suits.
That sounds extremely sad already. You just literally said she's piloting the main Gundam, which means that she won't see the end.
Well, that could happen, but we'll see. We'll see. You know.
Now, does this take place before Charge Counterattack or after Charge Counterattack?
This is not a UZ show. This is a unique, brand new timeline show.
Oh, this is a brand new timeline show. So this is part of the alternate timelines.
What's weird about this is that it has the after Colony Disaster timeline. I believe.
So is this new then technically, or is this technically a follow-up to an existing timeline?
There is a Colony Disaster timeline, so it's kind of weird for us that there's something called an after Colony Disaster timeline. We haven't been clarified if it exists within the same timeline. If it does, this would be something that happens years after Gundam X.
Which is kind of interesting, I guess, because a lot of the times these shows are all one-shots. The creator kind of wanted to do to be like express his creative freedom outside of the UC timeline. So this would be one of the times where he will actually expand on a timeline that he actually appreciated.
And it could be many things really, but again, this show is at least look-wise, it's starting to look like a very promising show, and we'll see more later this month. We are expecting some kind of release of an episode either this incoming July or next month, and we expect the full release series on October 2020, of course.
Of course.
We also are expecting an episode to either come out this month or next month of Iron Blood Orphans, Uram Hunt, who's also seeing a release later this year.
Ooh, I'm excited for Iron Blood Orphans. Finally getting more content for it. So anyways, as we wrap things up, you play. I mentioned before you got to play in the beta for this Gundam game. Give us your quick synopsis and rundown and your opinion on how it played out for it being a beta.
As someone who has played both the PC and Xbox version, I have my gripes with both. The PC, mostly, we had maybe a little bit of stability issues, but mostly the issues was definitely with balancing. There was a lot of balancing issues with some mobile suits just never seen the light of day because they just weren't as useful. Healing suits, I see that they actually did some work on it. Like Methodist actually had an improvement of its damage done and everything, because it got to the point at one point during the beta that a lot of people weren't using any healing suits because it wasn't worth the damage you were causing / how much you were healing.
Right.
It was not worth it. And it's better to just use bulky suits. One thing that didn't change during the beta is the gun tack is still the suit to go when it comes to newbies who are...
Gun tack, I love it.
You will wreck everyone and everything. You just need to stick behind someone and just shoot away, pretty much.
Well, that's fine, that's fine. I'll hide behind Papa Mural, and I'll be like, gun tank, go.
Yes. My favorite mobile suit has to be... Hold on.
If you don't say that it's the Gundam Zeta, I will be, or the Gundam Unicorn, I'll be extremely mad.
Was not in the group. Gundam Zeta was not in the group. We only had 14 Gundams, and it was not Gundam Zeta.
They should have, but okay.
Well, they are expecting to expand the amount of Gundams that come in and everything.
Okay.
You know, so...
Oh, while you're looking that up, tell us, what would you change to make this game better? So if any developers are listening to us, maybe they take some criticism and work on things. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I forgot which units were in the game, so I just have to get a quick look like. But my favorite suit in the game was the Pell Rider. The Pell Rider was, this, at least to me, the best suit for also beginners to the game that are very comfortable with already established shooters. It also, I believe, had much better balancing than the RX-78-2. Okay.
To be fair, the RX-78-2 is definitely supposed to be a skill mobile suit. It doesn't have the extra skills to protect it as the Pell Rider does, but the damage output from its beam rifle is amazing. If you can land the shots, it will get you a lot of kills. Right. Barbaro seemed to be the fan popular along with Savi, both the difficult suits to use. It seems that Barbaros, at least, they kind of removed a little bit of its craziness when it comes to its movement. It was reduced a bit from the original beta, mostly because he was literally unstoppable at home field. He would just come around, slap the shit out of you, and then run away. Hey, Barbaros, love it, love it, love it, love it. So, like I asked before, if you could, you know, give some constructive criticisms to make the game better, in case any producers or anybody that's into working on this game listens to us and listens to its fans, what kind of criticism would you give to improve the game? Okay, so if Vander was listening to me, I would be first. Give Gundam back to Tomio. Screw you. Also, please HC release again everything, just like everything. Right. Just everything. HC release, go. And maybe just the full armor Gundam Berka not release. I know, but on anyway, criticism for the game. So criticism of the game. One, on console, it was at least on the original Xbox, although I will say I was playing with a friend that was playing on a newer console, and he experienced the same thing. There is clearly a lot of instability, at least online, on the console version. Right. I kept getting kicked out, and what really didn't help was that the system cannot tell when you've been kicked out from the game, like, by some process, or you leave the game. Okay. So a lot of times I would come back, and if I didn't come back in a specific way right away, which is not always possible with the Xbox or with any console, you would immediately penalize me. It would penalize me for a couple minutes, an hour, or even a day, saying that I left the game. Right. And it's like, if I can't help it, you got to ease off those penalizations. I get it. You're playing a beta, and you want to keep as many people in the match, and you don't want people just leaving all the time. Of course. But really, that's taken into account when the game gets released, because it feels like the game is sometimes unplayable with the random just kicking out that it does, and then especially if the game doesn't allow you to play later, even when you've been literally kicked out of a match. Like, with
Right.
done wrong. A lot of its suits still need rework. I know you guys already did some rework on the suits, but clearly Gundam Exia, with all the buffs that you gave it and everything else, is still completely shitty. If you're gonna go for Gundam Exia, you end up going for Barbaros half the time.
Barbaros.
Because he's just a faster, more efficient Exia. And Exia does have good moments, but it just requires players with way more skill playing that correctly.
Right.
Now, if you want the player base to like all the suits, you know, you have to do it. And the reason why this is a problem is because we only have 14 suits. You know?
Yeah, but like you said, this is only the beta. In the official release, we'll have way more suits, hopefully.
Well, hopefully, because I really foresee this would be the official release, the way at least the game is set up, everything works the way it's supposed to. I feel like this is the release. They're just gonna add a couple more Gundams for every season and stuff like that. Which, by the way, please have the Wing Gundam. Literally.
The Wing Gundam? Oh,
Yeah,
if you're gonna request a Gundam, then I'll at least request the Zeta Gundam.
The Zeta Gundam that would be a good one. Like adding both the Wing and Zeta, since they both have transformations to flight mode.
Exactly.
It would be a nice put together there.
A nice addition here to the team here.
I also believe that Double Zeta and of course the new Gundam would be nice additions. Now I know they're probably saving that for seasonal events and stuff like that. That being said, one thing that a lot of people, even people who just got introduced to Gundam by playing this game, said, and I feel Bandai kind of should take it to heart, is I know you guys want to sell skins, but what about selling color palettes also and letting people customize their own Gundams with the colors they want?
That's cool. That kind of reminds me of the mobile Gundam game we were playing, where you can literally customize your own suit exactly the way you want it, piecing apart from Barbaros, getting the jetpack from like the Gundam Wing, and doing all these other random things, so you end up having your own individual build. That's basically what you're getting at, right?
On the Breaker series, you can do that. And by the way, Bandai, if you are hearing this, bring back fucking the Breaker series, especially new Breakers. That one was fantastic. Now, maybe don't make it a giant toy thing.
Oh, yeah, you told me this is literally Gundam Toy Story Edition.
Yeah, it just felt really weird. Just make it a normal, like the one you're making right now with just like an RPG kind of thing. And I'm not sure, so I don't want to say anything, but I think that's also going to have the whole mishmash parts thing.
That would be cool, actually.
Very casually. Cool. Yeah, I don't think it's going to go that way. But bring that back.
That's the whole point of an RPG, right? Being able to customize your character to the way you want it. And if you limit that aspect, then what's...
But I'm not even asking that for that. By the way, also, a quick way to solve this problem is just make that Gundam game for mobile, just make it a PC port also. Like, it cannot be that hard making a PC version of it.
I mean, if it's already on mobile, it's just, bring it over.
Yeah, exactly. And you get a lot more fans that way. But anyways.
And you make a lot more money. We know you like money.
With this, I'm not even asking that. I'm just asking that you're able to paint the suit as you want. And I know it's probably complicating adding a program like that to the game, but it just feels like a lot of people are asking that because look at the community you're going to. We're the Gundam community. We're used to literally customizing our own mobile suits.
Right.
Building Gunpla. We want to have some customization when it comes to paint jobs. Just some food for fun. That being said, I'm going to add one last piece of news to everything. And of course, many of you might have heard by now, but Berserk is coming back. Officially, Berserk is coming back.
Let's clarify, the manga's coming back because you said somebody that worked with him is taking over the project finally?
I believe it's one of his assistants plus one of his friends. They have declared heavily that they will follow his wishes.
What? So is it kind of like where Rooster Teeth did with Monty where he kind of had an outline for the next few seasons, and then they're following whatever he did?
Because this is what Rooster Teeth did with Monty script. Okay. I see. This is great. Fuck that. We're gonna rewrite this whole thing. There we go. This is what we want. No content, just a bunch of
Okay. So then, if the Berserk creator is having one of his assistants, one of his friends take over the project, how do they know to follow his wishes?
Well, to be fair, he's been working on Berserk for such a long time that he actually, considering the fact that he knew that he was sick, he wrote a lot of things down when it comes to what his prospects for the show. And manga.
So he basically did his own version of Spark Notes for his his manga.
He had kind of like a goal in mind, and it seems like his assistant at least had a very good idea of what that goal was and how he was going to end it, because he did speak about it a lot. His assistant came out, I think, a couple months after he died, and he said the same thing, that he knew pretty much how the manga would end because of how much he thought about it,
right,
and how he said it to them. So that, combined with one of his friends who's been known to work in a lot of good mangas that have a similar theme to the Gundam franchise and everything. I mean, the
Gundam franchise. I'm telling you, you're just Gundam is just running through your veins, sir.
Exactly.
So again, what are the chances that the creativity of this manga will go downhill or go up because of the change in writing?
I have high hopes that it's going to go up. Well, I don't think it's going to go up. I think it's just going to stay the same.
Right.
The thing is, like, I don't want to say it that way because it's kind of fucked, but it's like, there's no way they can fuck it up.
Right.
The manga's already heading in the right direction. We're clearly heading to a possible end. Right?
Yeah, that's what people have been saying, that it seems that they're getting closer to the end. Ironically as it is, as the creator was getting to his end, which, again, my condolences.
Yeah, so with that being said, I mean, all they have to do is, following his notes and everything else, they just have to give it a final homage, and they have to give it like a good final fight / I don't know, like just an ending.
They gotta finally have Guts retire his sword and finally kick back on a hammock somewhere.
Here's the thing, I don't expect Guts to come out of this alive.
So you're expecting Guts to pull up Mikazuki from Gundam and say, for the sake of my family, I will give it my all, even if it means giving myself.
That's what Guts has been. He hasn't cared about his life forever. He has been just...
But I thought after a while, when him and Casca got together, and then after she got her memories back and stuff, he found somebody to live for.
This is the part I'm guessing you haven't heard or understood. After he finally got Casca back, after she regained her memories, he finds out that he can no longer be part of her life. Because every time she sees him, she remembers the events.
You're right, of course. She remembers that incident.
Yeah, so clearly, he can want to save her, he can want to protect her, but he's actually doing more harm to her staying there than being with her. That's why there was all these little extra situations where pretty much they were kind of inclined to, he might leave on his own now and try to actually face against Griffin. Although, to be fair, I don't know how the fuck he's going to do that when Griffin literally has a whole armada of not only, like, a human army and military generals, but he also has all these demons working with him.
I'm just saying, if we go to Iron Blood Orphans, sorry, but, you know, we love Gundam a little too much here, so we're going to make the references here. If you see the ending, Mikazuki was in a similar boat. He had the entirety of the Federation, or Galahorn in this case, completely against him. He had the villain completely like beefed up and jacked up and ready to kill him. He was on his deathbed, and he had Barbaros like rise up with the tail at the end. He looked like a devil and everything, and he was able to win. He sacrificed himself at the end, but he definitely took everyone down with him, and that definitely mattered. So you can't just say that Guts can't do something similar, if not something better.
I'm not saying that he can. I'm saying that it's one of those things where it's like he doesn't have the same situation as, you know, as Gundam Mitsuki had, because he's literally going at this alone, and the army is way bigger than what Mitsuki was facing.
Right.
So I think it's gonna be a different scenario. All we know is that, at least if you guys want to continue reading the manga, the first chapter has been the first chapter, but the next chapter of the manga has
the first chapter after the return has been dropped.
Yeah. So, you know, look around and see what you guys tell us about it. Tell us if you guys liked it or not.
Alrighty, guys. Well, I think we've dragged this on a little too long. So stay tuned till next week. We'll hopefully drop another long form video here. This has been Spider Jack and RX Kamina, and we are taking off.